Welcome back to the SMITE Minor League. My name is Finch, and I'm happy to have you here with us. We actually just saw a really big set where Flashpoint dropped to Horizon Union. Bit of an upset on that one, but if you all want to enjoy things at home, there's a new battle pass out there, the Pirate Skins chest out there, so enjoy that, please. The Pirate Queens indeed. Chang'e, Artemis, Neith, and Sir Ket. No matter which one of those you want to play, there's going to be something out there for you. So pick up the chest. And I'm going to keep things rolling with the minor league. I got Ryan Agro Bailey right here next to me. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing pretty well, man. I'm doing pretty well. Excited for a second set because, I mean, Simplicity now have a great opportunity to extend their lead. And as you kind of highlighted at the top of the show, only the top end of the minor league ends up coming to these HRX qualifiers. They now got a great shot. Flashpoint took a loss they probably shouldn't have.
That's right. 2 spots up there at the top of the minor league now. I was mentioning how Out Cold only need one of those 2 teams, Simplicity or Flashpoint, to start making some mistakes, and they can make a run towards getting that spot. Maybe that was the beginning of it there. We'll see if Flashpoint can bounce back. But here in this Pacific matchup that we're going into, this is Simplicity up against Team Queso. I expect that we'll have another good one on our hands in the standings. Queso are right there in the middle of the pack 3-3, whereas Simplicity are 5-1.
Queso did end up with a little bit of a disappointing couple weeks ago, but overall still a team that has a lot of potential. They've got talented players that have been here and done that. These are veteran guys, so you can't ever count them out, but I'm getting pretty close because Simplicity is an awfully good team that I think is the best that the European minor league has to offer.
I agree. I think there are times when Flashpoint can pass them kind of in waves, but if I had to pick the most consistent team overall who on any given day to win me games from this EU minor league, there's no way I'm not picking Simplicity. These guys are absolutely nuts. So let's move into those picks and bans. Simplicity will be the first pick, and we saw last time a lot of focus in that last game on the jungle. Now that is Johnny, obviously, and you have to spend a little bit of extra focus on that one.
Oh, yeah.
But you heard Totally talking about who was next in terms of kills, and it was Faeles right there behind him, second overall here in the EU minor leagues. I think it's worth spending some attention if you're Queso on Faeles here as well.
Agreed. I think Faeles has played very well. He's been a big part of Simplicity, being that sort of rise from a team that they should be pretty good, but I don't know. I mean, Out Cold should be pretty good. Flashpoints look solid. That's kind of the narrative that was the beginning of Phase 1.
Right.
Now that we are in the back half of Phase 2, this is the favorite team, and it's largely because of Faeles' play. He's played very well on a very big variety of gods, from Guardians to Assassins to whatever. Faeles has played great.
He really has played well. I mean, the more I think about him and Funballer as well, I kind of think about that team from last year, SK, that really struggled, and we kept saying time and time again, these are great players, I promise, and now we're kind of getting to see some of that too. So I'm just happy they're all having some success. As Osiris, Geb, and Hunbat's banned out, those are not typical bans right now in this current meta. Remember, if you're first pick, you do get a little bit more leeway, and Team Queso banned a lot of the good stuff like Jean-Qui, Isis, and Merlin, but AMC is still floating around out there,
wow,
Khepri as well. Set's still floating out there. I mean, a lot of good stuff to draft right now.
Wow, they take Khepri first overall. I mean, Khepri's good. I don't think he's better than AMC right now. I don't think he's better than Set right now. I'm a little surprised that that's the direction Simplicity goes. Queso doesn't go for either of those picks, though, and StreakUp in his threat of his Chronos, I think is the reason we see the Queso pick here.
Imagine thinking they're going to put Chronos in the long lane where it belongs. This is Queso, you fool.
Oh,
this is a jungle Chronos.
Well, hey, man.
Come on, man.
Probably. Probably. I mean, StreakUp would have put it where it's supposed to go, but it probably would have won, so that's why we see them take it.
Exactly. Set comes in as well on the back end, and this set actually could go just about anywhere, and I think it would make some sense. We've seen it do its best work in the solo lane most times. Those bruisery builds that Set really likes works there, and he can come over and pick his timings. But jungle, long lane, those are both perfectly viable too.
No doubt, and that's what makes him such a good top pick, because you don't have to put him in only jungle or only solo or only long lane. I mean, he can do basically everything with a multitude of different builds and probably just win you the game outright doing it.
Hey, I'm really excited about Anhur being picked as the hunter middle lane instead of Chronos, though. How much can I say? It won, right? So I mean, I need to be quiet, I suppose, on that one. Though that it's not great.
It's good against Jean-Qui.
It is good against Jean-Qui. You know what else would help a lot too if those Krakens were hitting at the end of the game?
We can't tell though. I mean, that's just speculation.
Yeah, who knows for sure on that one. So Guan Yu comes in for Team Queso, and they actually have a good deal of self-sustain here at this point on this draft. The Guan Yu healing for everyone. Set has a good deal of that, and Chronos has some healing at his disposal too. So some guys that can apply anti-heal pretty well. Might not be a bad look for Simplicity, though Anhur with the Desert Fury already does that quite well. Jormungandr too, so they're not in too bad a spot.
No, I think Simplicity are doing okay, but I do like Queso's first 3, assuming that they go where they're supposed to,
right, yes.
to go. Put them where they're supposed to go, please, dude, please.
They, I mean, it would get very spicy up there at the top if Case were able to find this win, right? That would give a loss to both Simplicity and over to Flashpoint, open that door a little bit more. I mean, Horizon Union's been hot lately, so maybe even if they can keep that streak going, they can grab a spot if some more L's were to come through, but we'll have a chance to see Olorun and Thoth both banned. Those are both kind of mage ADC bans from where I'm looking, as we expect that Anhur to go to the middle lane for DeathPanter. So they're trying to limit StreakUp here a bit.
Sobek is a god that we haven't seen a whole lot of as of late, but I think Trix Tank played it a little bit for Dignitas fairly recently in the SPL. Innate anti-heal there. You don't really need that quite yet against what Simplicity has.
Interesting.
So I mean, Poseidon probably going to StreakUp. DeathPanter has been pretty locked in, though Poseidon's really the only mage he plays a lot of still, so maybe it is in the mid lane. I don't know. Yeah,
a bit surprising. This is what's come through. We'll see where they put those. Oh, it's Poseidon Jungle.
Awesome.
And I missed that one. Obviously, it is Faeles going to be playing the Poseidon Jungle and Ullr now to go to the long lane, I suppose. I mean, either Anhur or Ullr could pretty feasibly go mid.
Yes. Either one. They're the same character, right? I mean, they do slightly different things. One has CC immunity on the man, the other doesn't.
No,
where do you want your CC immunity? That's where you put the Anhur.
Okay.
It seems pretty simple that way to me.
Well, do you think there's any chance that this Anhur could go in the jungle?
Yes, there is a chance. And
Should
I'd be sad. No. I don't think anyone should jungle from Simplicity with these characters.
with what they've drafted, everyone should go to a lane
has
somewhere.
to. Right. We should go back to the 2-1-2 meta from way back in the day.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to see with this draft.
Pele comes through, and between this and the set, good luck if you're in the back line. Diving is the name of the game here from Team Queso. Let's move into the action for Game 1.
A big chance here today for Simplicity to take the lead in the European Minor League, but the one thing they're going to have to do first of all is get through this Team Queso, who are hot on the heels of the pack leaders. Joining me for the broadcast will be Anatoly, and of course the NA cameraman himself, Doug, will be on the camera action. And at the beginning of this one, Solly, we see Dracomarino paying a visit to the speed buff.
They need to do something to find an advantage. Great stun from the jungle
Warchi.
Anhur, by the way. StreakUp.
Uh-oh, having a hard time here is Warchi. He's only level 1, remember, so StreakUp just going to find a couple of basics. Throw the axe for good luck. Expect the juke, and the juke went straight back into the axe. First blood to StreakUp with that Ullr.
Kind of showing us why Simplicity are currently 5-1 in the standings. Queso trying to throw curveballs at Queso with this support Sobek that yet again was able to steal away at least one buff. Faeles was able to secure a speed buff earlier on, but that first blood, so important for any god that's rushing a stacking item, especially an Ullr with Transcendence.
Yeah, Tony as well, Anhur in the jungle. How do you feel about this? I mean, we've seen a lot of different junglers as of late, Guardians, mages going in there. How do you feel about Anhur's potential?
I don't mind it necessarily. Shifting Sands provides such a slowing minefield. It's going to be hard to get away from that one, but Genetics putting himself in a 1v3.
Blink from WorstTurttle, that's to the back of Faeles, but Faeles didn't really panic in the grand scheme. Now going to get pressured in, still only level 1 for that Anhur jungle. Leaping from StreakUp at level 2 after getting the first blood onto Warchi. Looking for his second kill if possible. But Queso going to fall back to safety for now. Dracomarino whittled down on low health, but has potions ticking. And with that, the battle of the red buff invade is over, and Queso defend, but lose the left harpies.
That rotation was only possible because of that first blood. You will never see a Hunter rotate that early on, but because of that first blood, StreakUp was able to clear the wave. Warchi has to sit under the tower, freeze the lane to play catch-up, and this Ullr was so close towards getting a second kill, but he missed the stun, unfortunately.
Yeah, good news, though, for Warchi. He's at least got his own purple buff. Didn't have that invaded too, so he didn't lose too much experience in that first wave into second combo. But as you can see, there's already a level lead now for StreakUp in the lane. As well as the fact that, well, at level 5, there's not a whole lot Ullr really does with his level 5 ability. He's already technically got his ultimate.
I mean, 3 points in your Bladed Arrow and Iron Axe, not too bad, honestly. Sure. Especially a god that doesn't have sustain unless you commit the Kingslayer ultimate. Warchi getting poked out already is going to miss even more experience under the tower.
As we mentioned as well, Europe very tight in the minor league. Top 2 teams will qualify to get their shot at World Championships. They'll get into the qualifying bracket alongside some of the teams that don't make it from the SPL and their console brethren as well. But we'll see which teams can make it out of here. Simplicity were front runners for a while, but now hot on the heels, teams like Queso are lurking.
That's true. Queso are 3-3. They could end this phase 2 being 8-3 with 5 more weeks after this one. Well, actually, technically, if they win this one, they'd be 9-3. But a difficult challenge, seeing how Queso in the past 3 weeks lost all their matches. Week 4, they lost that matchup against Simplicity. They did get one of those games, but then losing 0-2 to both Outcold Gaming and Horizon Union.
This is the time then that you want Queso to try and turn it around, but at the moment the deficit has already been established here from Simplicity. StreakUp having a good time early on against the set. I'm only saying early on for now because we know how potent this god can be, especially when we saw Johnny playing it earlier on.
Oh, absolutely. There's a difference between set in the jungle versus set in the long lane. Warchi is going to be looking for this all-in commitment around that level 8 to level 9 marker. Once he gets a little bit of mobility, maybe Transcendence completed, and StreakUp going to have to keep that in mind, save the axe to defend himself.
A little surprised by the first pick of a Khepri at the moment as well, coming out from Genetics and Simplicity here. There's a lot of things available, but they chose a Khepri, which can also set you up into a tricky situation where you may end up, being into executes. Wasn't the case.
Sure.
This case didn't look that way.
Alquang, Achilles, Thanatos are very enticing once you see the first pick Khepri, but it's always one of these catch-22s because, like, wait, if they pick Khepri this early, that means that they're kind of having a strategy to deal with those executes. And even with executes, I think Khepri is still a great god at the end of the day. Rising Dawn, the second ability, mitigating more damage that the enemies are going to be able to do. That long-range route that can easily force out the beats when you have gods like Anhur, Poseidon, and Ullr to follow up.
Oh, maniaKK under pressure here, going to get hit by the cavalry charge and forced to ult. Will do so nice and early before the stun does connect from Julio. Just relieving a bit of pressure there on the right-hand side more than anything else to allow WorstTurttle to pick up the blue buff and see if Simplicity had any backup in mind. maniaKK will return to base, no TP available for him, however, so it will be a manual rotation back to lane, which means Julio should have a bit of pressure in the lane for the time being.
A very small win trading out those ultimates because the minions to be denied. Great vision from Queso on this right side of the map. This Guan Yu for Julio is not going to get ganked without knowing about it anytime soon.
And you talk about that, well, look at the left-hand side as well. Actually, all the wars just slowly disappeared as Simplicity had littered the battlefield on that side to make sure StreakUp was nice and safe to know that he was only in a 1v1 most of the time with Warchi here, just to keep track of that, as maniaKK going to get his blue buff now with the help of Faeles. Still level 6, but as you can see, he's lost a bit of experience in this lane to Julio.
I don't mind it necessarily. He should be level 7 once he gets that solo wave. Julio could still look for some poke potential, but with the shoes of Magi, maniaKK can definitely dish out more than he receives. Keep in mind, Julio will have at least a conviction to be able to bounce back if he gets low.
A little bit worried from Simplicity's point of view in terms of their composition here. It's very all-in focus with the Kraken and the 2 Hunters in tow. It's a little bit concerned as this game goes on, in my opinion, about the sustained damage coming out from this squad.
It could be a little bit of trouble on the right side. maniaKK going to get stunned out. That World Serpent ultimate, a little bit of a longer cooldown than the Cavalry charge.
Yeah, and Julio seemed to recognize that, as did WorstTurttle. Good combination on that right-hand side to pick up the kill and give a bit more of a lead now for Julio in this laning phase. It's going to force Faeles over on a rotation, which means there's a chance for WorstTurttle to find a 3v2 in mid, but Simplicity can be well aware of it, however, and just play it back for the time being for their teammates to respawn. StreakUp died too.
I called it. Warchi's looking for that solo kill at level 8. You're getting a couple points in that skewer, and it's hard to really keep the set off of you when you don't have CC immunity as an Ullr. That movement speed that you get from using Kingslayer, I think it's like about 20-25%. Ullr can't match that with only 1 point in his second ability.
No chance in time. And with the builds coming through, now you can see Ninja Tabby online for Warchi, so a little bit more focused this time round on the attack speed. While it's in this break though, let's have a little look back at that kill from Warchi that we just missed and see how it all went down. Totally, break it down for me.
So it's looking like Warchi's just looking for poke, but with a very short cooldown on the skewer. It's 7 seconds to be exact. He's constantly using the clones. Once he goes to it there, he drops it again, and utilizing that cloud, that sandstorm for damage over time, realizing that was a safe tower dive.
Biggest play there was the preemptive beads, knowing StreakUp would land the axe, and he actually just ate the axe to the face, but it didn't force the CC. It allowed him to continue the chase there. Now WorstTurttle looking for more pressure on this left-hand side with the support of obviously Warchi in the laning phase, looking for poke damage with those skewers. Those skewers do so much,
It does, and it's such a short cooldown. It's 7 seconds with Mage's Blessing, 10%. You're shaving 0.7 off of it. The Transcendence, another 0.7. So you're going going to look at about a 5.6 second poke once the Transcendence is completed.
And it's not just one clone either. You can have a couple of clones in the field, or even a billion clones if you get your Ultima.
That's right. As long as you can get the basic attacks, you need 4 basic attacks to spawn another clone. But I don't expect StreakUp to be just sitting there to get auto attack, but still hard to get away because of the movement speed that Kingslayer provides as well.
You can see Simplicity starting to focus a bit of attention to that duo lane now, trying to shut down this Warchi before it really gets going any further than it currently is. But the ward coverage is pretty solid from Queso to allow Warchi to keep this pressure in the lane and force StreakUp back once more. Simplicity forced back towards the middle areas. Julio having a fun time against this Jormungandr at the moment. maniaKK not really enjoying this, going to try and ult away and will do so just in time.
Wow, barely able to avoid that knockup from WorstTurttle as the rotation was perfect. Yet again, maniaKK can't really stack up to Julio's damage. Even with the silver breastplate providing about 35 physical protections is still not enough. But now that it's completed, should be able to poke him out a little bit further. You just got to be mindful that Julio is going to continuously trade out his ultimate willy-nilly.
You mentioned the cooldown there as a crack in the mid lane comes through from DeathPanter after Mark Desert Fury. Meanwhile, did hit Shekio and get the beads, mainly because of the route out there from Genetics at the tail end that caused that little bit of just kerfuffle. With that, 3 relics currently down on the side of Queso, mainly the jungler Blink and the beads on Shekio. So Shekio is susceptible now.
WorstTurttle tried to get away, will use that Volcanic Lightning once he realizes Genetics was looking for the root. Pele without the Purification Beads, going to be a little tricky to get out of that one. And this is the play where Simplicity was a little sloppy in the mid lane. You were talking about the all-in idea from Simplicity with the Kraken and the Desert Fury, and I thought that they were going to take a slow approach where they were going to look for the root from Genetics, the obelisk coming through from Faeles, and then look for poke and reset. But I guess Simplicity saw something, they just failed to execute upon it.
I will say, like, in the early game, it's definitely something they can do, which is sustain damage and poke them down a little bit. But the sustain on the side of Queso, when they start to group up, this Guan Yu is going to allow them to heal up a lot, as is Pele. And, well, most of these gods in the team have some sort of sustain in their kit.
That's true. WorstTurtle is going to be relying on that passive. Chekio having the rewind. Dracomarino with that sickening strike. And you can't forget the Kingslayer out of Warchi. That last set.
You missed Chronos there. He's got sustain.
Well, I said the rewind, and I guess the accelerate.
Yeah, see?
The accelerate of the first quadrant. You're really not using that quadrant ever. You're always using the fourth
Unless you're an assault. Unless you're an assault and you've got nothing you can do, you're just going to keep hitting that first zone.
Well, I don't expect Queso to be running it down mid anytime soon to deal with that kind of shenanigans. But I think that as long as Queso can play the waiting game, that Warchi should be able to pop off.
A little bit aggressive from Simplicity here. No real buffs up in the jungle. Dracomarino, the only one in this area. A lot of investment of time right now. Honestly, though, there's not much going on, so that Kraken combo works out perfectly. Draco kind of sensed the danger there.
He did.
Still walked into it, however.
And, like, what is he defending? Red buff and purple buff are already gone. Just go the opposite way. I guess he was worried that maybe Gold Fury could have been contested. Simplicity does have the Kraken, and if you don't have eyes with vision control, then, yeah, you are at risk of losing that objective.
Yeah, very good point, Sol. They didn't have vision on that Gold Fury at all, so it probably was why he had to face check. But it was a nice little pick from Simplicity at the end of the day. They did get a bit of pressure in the mid lane there, though, Queso, as a minion wave got in towards the tower, but DeathPanter was back in time. Warchi needs to get back to his half of the map in time. Instead, he's going to commit to StreakUp, but Faeles will thread the needle with some of those basics and make sure his teammate stays alive.
That's all he could have done, honestly, is try to go for the return fire, almost killing out StreakUp. Might allow WorstTurtle to make a play with his own blink, but recognizing a little bit of the danger, both of those Simplicity members will back.
Julio as well, just did with maniaKK, who started to try and do a bit of proxy farming now. He hit level 12, and you saw a little bit earlier on, WorstTurtle went for a play on him, but the Breastplate of Valor was already online and prevented some of that damage he was expecting. Gold Fury started up by Queso, in comes DeathPanter. Ultimate is available for Poseidon here, so the Kraken can cause problems, and WorstTurtle gets into an awkward spot, but will have to use his ultimate to get away from the whirlpool that was soon to follow.
Not sure if Genetics had his abduct or not, but after that route, there was a small window to pluck and silence out the Pele
Let's get
just
him low,
like that.
totally.
It's a tug and war.
Kraken does go down, and the Gold Fury goes to Simplicity. Queso very angry about the situation, trying to find a pick. And maniaKK from lurking down below ends up walking straight into a stun from Chekio, but that's all she wrote for the engagement. Simplicity get away from that pretty unscathed.
Queso could have definitely probably held on to the Gold Fury to bait out DeathPanter's ultimate and reset it at the last possible moment, but they were more fearful of the engage as Genetics was right there, and you give them a little bit of an inch, StreakUp, it's going to take a mile.
From Warchi, and the Desert Fury was perfect. Good combo between the two. They just can't get that last hit. The Impale from Faeles didn't find a home. Would have been a kill, but Warchi just slips the noose ever so slightly.
Needed about one more tick of that Desert Fury, but a great pickup from Warchi on that second relic slot. Normally, with an aggressive assassin in the long lane, you're expecting the blink potentially, but this Aegis is the only reason why he's still breathing.
You see, I agree with getting blink a lot of the times the assassins, but sometimes they've got good escapes in the kit anyway that you don't have to invest further into them. Sometimes, though, like, the likes of a Hombat's blink ultimates are great, and then have somersault to either follow up or fall back is always useful. But I do feel like Set could be in that situation where he's more available to be used and effective if he's got a second relic that's not blink.
So the idea behind getting even blink on a set is you want to pop your Kingslayer and then blink in, and if things get really dicey, you use your 3 to disengage after the fact to reevaluate. But against the composition from Simplicity, I actually like this Aegis pickup against the Kraken.
I'm talking about the Kraken. It's available again, and immediately they're going to go straight towards the Pyromancer Simplicity. But Julio on the cavalry charge does stun Panther. No panic out of Panther, however. He'll just eat the damage and walk away. Nice save of the beads for now. Genetics, meanwhile, though, just abducted to mid lane, and that could have been an awkward spot. It's forced to Ullr. Julio trying to pop the bubble if he can on the Blessing, but the damage has already been done to that Khepri. He'll have to fall back to base here. Queso grouped up as 5 in the middle area. Pyro is available, as is a bit of damage onto this tier 1, knowing that not the whole squad is going to be here for a moment.
This is a great power spike to group up for Queso, knowing they have the conviction kills from the Guan. Great knockback prevented Dracomarino from plucking anyone.
Really good defense from Faeles overall there. Nothing really StreakUp could do to step up to the wave in that situation. But the Desert Fury, CC immunity for the most part, will allow him to just clear the wave out, and that's the focus there sometimes, Tolly. Players generally do fall into the trap of going to poke out the gods or block the shots. Clear the wave first, make them tank the tower.
Very short cooldown, 75 seconds, so Faeles should have it back up off of the next wave and a half, and this is a great power spike for Julio as he back to finish off the Genji's guard. Additional 10% CDR, more MP5 to spam that conviction sustain, and I wouldn't be surprised if Queso go for round 2 on any objective.
Queso looking pretty solid right now, at least in the side lanes. The middle area has been very quiet for the most part. Just that kill for WorstTurttle over on the right-hand side towards maniaKK, but for the most part, we've not really seen any action. Just a couple of bits of poke damage here and there. As you can see, just a bit more of it going on in the mid lane now. But they just don't have the side lanes to do the work at the moment, Tolly.
Yeah, even though Simplicity were the ones getting the Gold Fury, getting a little bit more of the kills, I still favor Queso in this matchup. The way Warchi was able to play the 1v1 earlier, despite having 2 deaths as opposed to StreakUp's only 1, he's still ahead in the experience category, really sneaking in some of the farm potential of the back camps, the purple buff, utilizing that third ability for the mobility.
StreakUp just a bit behind us. Warchi going to jump on in, throw the skewers out. Only one connects. The axe also connects from StreakUp though, and Warchi did not like the taste of that. DeathPanter rotating round, and Warchi needs to realize he's in danger. Does so in time, and DeathPanter pops the trident, but he's just going to be too late to continue the chase on someone like a Set.
This is where Warchi's poke gets heavily negated. As Ullr's getting levels on his 4th ability, he's getting lifesteal while staying in the axe stance, and that's why long lane Ullr can build into non-lifesteal, like physical power with Transcendence, Crusher, because you're relying on just your passive anyway for the sustain.
Keep an eye on builds as we can see a Shifter's Shield online for Faeles now is Dracomarino. Nearly got pinched by maniaKK from behind there. Do you like the Shifter's Shield in this situation? Power is useful, and you're going to need a little bit of tankiness to step up, especially with the likes of a Poseidon and an Ullr alongside you. So I'm excited to see how that plays out for him. Already got the Crusher in tow as well.
70 power, never a bad thing from one individual item. Julio, though, going to get trapped a little bit there. Impale still being held onto for Faeles. as the Guan is just going to sustain it back up. Warchi could look for more poke, as if StreakUp doesn't connect the axe, that's when he's in trouble.
The axe being down there, you just saw WorstTurttle step up even more so to this left-hand side. Next Fury's due to spawn soon, and Queso in a pretty good position to set up for that. The flashing has begun to signify that buff is spawning now, but Simplicity are here in tow. maniaK now making the rotation towards the middle area. He could definitely make an impact, but a good block onto Genetics, and that could be due.
That needs to be a kill. It will be indeed. You don't have to commit all in to get this one, as Warchi will secure the first.
Meanwhile, the backside of this Panther got isolated there. The Aegis bought him a moment, but not long enough. Now Faeles is going to get plucked back in by Draco towards Warchi, and the tail whip's good enough for Marino to pick up the kill. Into the ultimate goes maniaK there, but there's not a whole lot he can do here with 3 teammates dead. The core of Simplicity is down, and now Queso, 5 men stronger, looking at this Oni Fury, and maniaK can't do anything about it.
Oh, the little mini stun maniaK's passive takes into effect. The blink coming through from WorstTurttle couldn't really calculate where maniaK was going. After the objective, Queso could look to tower dive this, having Checkio on the Chronos accelerate. Very easy to get that tower. And that last team fight was off of the back of all the vision control that Queso had. They were so confident of knowing everyone's positioning from Queso. Stepping a little bit too far forward was Genetics, and that's the support trap.
maniaK trying to find a pick at the tail end of this, but Warchi will just about get away in time. Jump into the clone, back to safety for Queso. Great call from them. They get a Fury and a tier 1 tower plus 3 kills. Big swing in the favor of this team that are trying to break the top 2.
It just goes to show how important team compositions are, because even though Queso didn't have the early lead necessarily, dropped the first goal, Fury, they're relying on their 5-on-5 grouping. As long as they have the vision control, they should be fine.
Simplicity will get a Pyromancer, and now the pressure's on for Faeles, though, as WorstTurttle has found him. Good Aegis and a knock-up too, but the peel was even better there from StreakUp and Genetics to make sure their jungler stays alive. Panther, meanwhile, does manage to get away from Julio for now, but that's 2 people off the map again, which means Queso have a small power play, and maniaK is surrounded. Luckily, his ultimate's up. He's going to need it, and he'll get away again just in time.
But the question is, how does Simplicity hold this tier 1 tower that's on its last legs? DeathPanter having to back as did Faeles. It's only StreakUp and Genetics playing defense. Warchi on the flank.
And the teleport coming through from maniaK too, but can they get the tower down in time? They can. That means the teleport won't come through from maniaK. Could have been a big swing there if Simplicity did get their solo laner to that action.
And even the right side tower might go down to the minions, but it looks like maniaK will get there in time to play defense. This is looking on the up and up for Queso now. They're slowly chipping away at the structure integrity of Simplicity.
I think it's time for Simplicity to just turn it up a notch now, though. They need to be the ones to engage a fight and find a pick before the fight even starts. I mentioned the amount of sustain this team has with a Guan Yu. They can just keep grouping up and healing, and then going again. If they get a Fire Giant, it becomes even more of an issue. Simplicity need a pick, and they need one soon.
We saw the difference between which team has the map pressure versus which team didn't, right? Like the same way Dracomarino got picked at his red buff was the same way Queso flipped that situation on its head, controlling the Gold Fury area. It's about vision control and grouping up S5 first.
Talk about grouping up right now. Queso all on the right-hand side. Full minion wave here, and maniaK can only really watch on. We'll try and clear out as many creeps as he can, but recognizing he's outnumbered, has to fall back as another tier 1 falls. Left-hand side, though, Warchi gets a bit of alone time again. With StreakUp, he'll jump away.
At this point, if Simplicity are willing to give up a tier 1 tower on the right side, they need to fully commit to the opposite end, because Warchi is playing too aggressive by himself. If he's going to commit to StreakUp, bait him out. You have a Khepri. Make sure he's there and ready for the Scarab's Blessing. If you pick out Warchi, those towers on the left side are not standing for much longer.
And at this moment as well, if you can set that up, there's no wards on that left-hand side, so he wouldn't have an idea that he's over there.
Exactly, right? Like, there's no objective to get on the left side. The only thing that might be of risk is if you give up the Fire Giant in response. So that could be a tricky point for Simplicity to balance on the triple beam, but instead, they're just going to let their tower fall and slowly play catch-up.
Wall coverage at the moment around the Fire Giant is securely for Simplicity. One or 2 wards in the area for Queso, just at the entrances from the solo in the middle area, through those junctions there, just to keep vision around the Fire Giant pit. Is Simplicity on the right side more so, though. Blue buff is up, and a little bit overextended here is Julio, who may get punished for this if he can find the Impale.
Nah,
but
he's
Faeles just missed at the same time as Julio had already popped the ultimate anyway. But it is a cooldown, nevertheless, and it's an ultimate at that.
Yeah, but it's a 40% cooldown reduction Guan Yu between Breastplate, Genjis, and Blackthorn. So I think Julio is willing to sacrifice that cooldown. Even Simplicity forcing a fight, Julio's ultimate's going to come back faster because every time the Conviction heals an ally, you shave 2 seconds off.
Nice axe again from StreakUp onto Warchi, but Warchi not going to use the beads and go aggressive, instead just fall back, expecting reinforcements to turn up, so just looking to recall here. Got to teleport a maniac, nobody saw that, however, so that's a secret relic usage, which won't go against them. Queso will have to still think the teleport is available.
5 minutes ago, Queso lit up that side of the map like a Christmas tree. This time, they still need to figure out a way to replicate that same exact team fight, and they are grouping up, anticipating the respawn of this Fury. Simplicity are going to poke their head around the corner, but last time, this is where Genetics got plucked by Draco.
And he needs a bit more support alongside him, I feel, because last time that pluck hit, there was no one really in distance to help out. I believe it was only Panther that could really get a crack enough, but at that, it was an awkward one. Primal Fury started up, though, by Julio. Chekio, the one hitting away as WorstTurttle swings around the left-hand side. Genetics coming in for a face check, as is Maniac with the sneaky stealth. Gonna knock up Chekio, and Chekio under pressure. Stun on there as the Kraken does connect, but the Fury's still alive. That will finally get reset. Panther low. Big shot from Genetics comes through, but WorstTurttle will get the damage off in time to bring him down.
Genetics didn't get the ultimate off. Jumping over the wall is Faeles with the speed buff. Should be fine. Chasing them down is Queso, but instead gonna retreat to this objective, knowing there's no Kraken to steal it.
Would like Julio on zone duty, but you also want him back with his team to sustain them back up too. Bit of an awkward call here. So now Dracomarino will be the one to lead in to make sure nobody's around here. Keep an eye on that Jormungandr, who can't really do much in that situation. This is just a slow, meandering loss for Simplicity so far.
This is why Guan Yu is such a powerful pick still in 2019 of Season 6 SMITE. Even if you don't have the most favorable laning phase matchup, your team fights are probably the best once you transition into this mid to late game. The cooldown reduction, the MP5 from Breastplate and Genjis, it's hard to not lose.
Julio's here, WorstTurtle's here, and the cavalry charges also too. StreakUp under pressure, leaps over the wall to safety, but he took a ton of damage and lost his relics at least in the midst of that. Genetics, meanwhile, has to ult himself, and he gets surrounded and brought down for another kill for Queso. They're looking good in this game one, Toli. They could actually really take this one away if they get a fire giant here.
And they definitely need to. Being 3-3 in the standings, they didn't have the greatest performance the last 3 weeks, but they're certainly bouncing back now if they can get this fire giant.
Faeles has ultimate too. Maniac's in the pit, not going to use his ultimate, go for a steal of the tail end. Queso get the FG. They take down the Jormungandr as well. And on the back of that fight, Faeles has to leap away. A StreakUp also tries to get away from Draco and Warchi, who is still dashing in. The Aegis falls off and Faeles will fall, as will StreakUp, and Warchi gets himself a double kill on set.
Queso are looking so clean in this very first game with the best of 3 set, and you wouldn't expect it with the week 4 matchup, as Simplicity was able to win that one 2-1, but they're going to go for the Phoenix. It's only Genetics defending.
Panther's still on the left-hand side. He just took red and then took back harpies, and now he's gone back in lane. This
could be it.
This could be the game, and, well, there's not much I think Panther can do now. He's going to recall, but it could be too late.
He has a Kraken, but everyone is so healthy from Queso. Chekio ignoring the middle Phoenix to go for the end.
Has a Kraken, remember, but gets pushed back towards his fountain. The Titan will fall, and Team Queso are going to take game 1 here in considerably dominant fashion.
Great play from WorstTurttle, great play from Warchi as well. This double assassin composition really worked because of the backline healing done by the Guan Yu.
You were mentioning before this how Queso hadn't won a game in quite a while, a set at least. And this is what, off the back of 4 losses in a row?
3 set losses in a row.
Oh, okay. 3 set losses in a row, and then to bounce back against someone like Simplicity. Pretty good look for them. It's only 1 game though, and it is a best of 3. Let's find out after the break if Queso can take down the 2-0.
SteelSeries, the official peripheral provider of the SMITE Minor League.
Coming in with the better record hasn't meant a whole lot so far here today. Flashpoint had some struggles earlier on against Horizon Union, and now Simplicity dropping game 1 to Team Queso. And yet again, it really wasn't particularly close. Queso kind of ran away with this one. Ryan, Aggro Bailey's right here next to me. What'd you see happen here in this match?
I saw one team have potentially one of the best gods in the game in Set. I shouldn't even say potentially. He's definitely one of the best gods in the game in Set.
Yes.
And even though he fell behind early, got soloed by StreakUp, Warchi still able to make a really big impact on this selection.
What did you see in the jungle?
I saw one team have a character that's designed to jungle.
Like an assassin.
Right, and they cleared the jungle effectively and
Right.
quickly and were able to impact team fights because of it. On the other side, we saw a character who was not designed to jungle do less of the things that I just said. And it looks like, oh, well, you know, Faeles the same amount of player damage, same amount of impact. No.
No.
You need to, I mean, Faeles was down 2 levels consistently throughout this game, and it's not his fault. His character doesn't jungle very well. I mean, it doesn't do the thing that junglers are designed to do, which is clear the jungle camps.
I don't want to hurt or shock you here, but he picked it.
I know, that's what he asked for, I assume.
Yeah.
Look,
So I'm saying it is his fault, is what I'm saying.
well, sure.
Yeah, right.
Anhur does a lot of things very well.
Yeah, he's very good right now.
In theory, he comes out of the jungle and ganks pretty well, right? I impale you into a wall, I impale you back towards my teammate, and then I use my ultimate to do a lot of damage and grant myself CC immunity. The number one job of junglers is not to gank. It's
Right.
to clear your jungle camps. That
Yes.
is number one. And Anhur does not do that part well, so I will not honor the parts that he might do well later on down the line. We didn't get past door number 1, and so
Right.
door number 3 being a success is not relevant to me.
And while you're right, I do think it is fair to say that there's a lot of other things that didn't particularly go well for Simplicity here in this game. I think
Agreed.
that we're seeing more and more arguments for Sobek's being in games here, right?
Sure.
Nowadays, Dracomarino certainly looked strong on this pick here for and Queso was the team. If those names had been blocked out, I'd have said Queso were the ones that on her in the jungle, right? The ones
Completely agree.
where things were going wild, but it looked like Simplicity couldn't quite beat Queso at their own game here this time. So let's see if when they come back at this for a second try here in these picks and bans, if maybe they go a little bit more their own style.
I think they will. Look, Simplicity's a good enough team that I imagine that this is a moment where they go, hey, let's try this. You know, something that's been working in scrims. Let's give it a shot in a real game environment. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We believe in our ability to win 2 in a row. And I really don't have a problem with that. You
Sure.
know, and I don't think that Simplicity wasn't taking it seriously or anything
No,
like
not
that.
a throwaway game by any means.
I just don't think that I just don't think Anhur jungle is very good. And they attempted their hypothesis. It failed, and it's time to move on and pick something that clears the jungle camps effectively, because again, that is the number one job of a jungler.
And let's say that you do want to test something in in a live environment where everything really does matter, which teams do occasionally do.
Yep.
If you're Simplicity in the SML EU, there aren't any soft matches to pick, right? There's very few of those where you can go, well, maybe this time we can be a little bit more risky. So when you try something that's a little bit out there, it is going to come at a bit of a greater cost just because this is a really stacked region that they're in right now. We'll go ahead and address these picks and bans as they come to us, though. Osiris, Geb, and Set all taken away by Simplicity. Jean-Qui, Isis, and Merlin taken away on the other side. That all makes sense, but Anhur is still out there if you want to put him in the middle lane where a lot of other people put him. Chronos is still out there as well. A lot of good stuff still on the table.
I wonder if another pantheon has ever been as strong as the Egyptian pantheon is right now.
They're pretty good, aren't they?
I mean, Set,
Isis,
Horus, Khepri, Geb, Isis are all like insane picks.
And Sobek just poked his head up just one, didn't he?
Okay,
Anhur, yeah.
all right. I'm saying it right now. This is the most dominant one pantheon has ever been in competitive SMITE.
That's true.
Egyptian pantheon broke
Well,
right now.
did release Bologna do enough for Romans? Then maybe
Yeah,
that could
that's
be
what I
it.
was thinking. Like maybe Roman pantheon, like Sylvanas, Giannis, Cupid, Bologna were really all popular around the same time in season 2. But I don't think so, man. I mean, Egyptian pantheon right now I think is just too strong.
Yes, they're quite scary.
So don't even type in, because you can like type in Hunter or whatever. Miss me with that. Type in Egyptian and just pick something out of there, and chances are you'll be good.
Yes, you'll definitely be able to have some nice picks as Khepri comes in right away for Simplicity. And then into Thoth, you're right. They're stacked.
Egyptians are OP, man. I'm
stacked.
telling you.
I wonder how that happened.
Norse was good for a long time.
Just by chance, you think?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I don't think anything else happened. It's just by chance. A lot of those Egyptians a larger pantheon than some other ones. So
yes, it's an older one that we've had for a while.
So your odds are pretty good. But yeah, I mean, there aren't that many. And here's the thing: there aren't that many weak characters either. It's like Bastet. You could make the argument.
Yeah,
sure.
Raw. You're not feeling bad with that, right?
Raw,
Yeah.
you don't feel terrible. There's another Egyptian god in Sobek. Man, I think I cracked the code.
Yeah, good for you. The worst part about this is that you're going to be gassing yourself now, and I got to deal with that.
Well,
But everything else is fine.
Stop me if I'm wrong.
I couldn't. I don't think I can. Olorun, Muzen, and Sobek are very good as far as your first 3 picks are concerned. Gives them a ton of mid-pressure with the AMC. Olorun's Sanctified Field obviously is huge. And I think that Sobek might be getting a little bit slept on in the support role. Obviously, I don't think he has a spot in solo lane right now. Warriors are what you need over there. But in the support role, I think there's room for Sobek.
I agree, and I think he does very well against characters like Khepri. Just a lot of displacement and the ability to easily move him around while setting up on other people. Sobek pluck is very single target, and so a lot of times that's, I think, what people think of, where it's like, oh, well, we're going to pluck this one guy in, we want to kill him, Khepri just ults that dude, and we're good to go. But if you are plucking one person, then just waiting, you know, give yourself a heartbeat, and then tail whip away the Khepri as your team is executing, you can do a lot of really good stuff with the Sobek in this matchup. I think it's pretty potent.
I also love the 1+1 = 2 of big mage ult and then Naja setup, right? That is like an old combo. Anything you can slide in there, it just that's always perfect on that one. So that one's going to work great for me. And then the Khepri too, if the Naja's in trouble on landing, get them right back out. Those first 3 are great for simplicity.
I do love the amount of CC though that Queso has. I mean, that is kind of the answer a lot of times to Khepri is how do we stop him? We just CC him while we're killing someone else. T are very good at that. I like this draft from Queso so far, but I agree, Simplicity's draft looks much better to me.
It's in a really good spot, especially out there adding this King Arthur. Wow, getting to 8th pick, that one feels pretty good. There's still a jungler waiting over on Queso, and I'm actually glad Unbots was banned. I was just looking over and thinking, man, Fear No Evil would make this draft nuts, and already Simplicity have recognized that that's taken off the table, and you get to 9th pick Anhur. This is a very strong team from Simplicity, and much more up their alley too. This Thoth, I imagine the long lane, going to be able to bully this Olorun over there.
100%. I love this Simplicity draft. I think they've set themselves up for a ton of success. They got everything that I want to see in its competitive team composition. AoE damage, long-range poke, great control, CC, initiation. They can really do it all. I think Simplicity is really in a good spot to force a Game 3.
Susano comes in as the last pick here for Queso, be giving that one over to WorstTurttle. Not quite a Fear No Evil, but can definitely be a huge disrupting presence. We'll see if WorstTurttle can do enough.
Thanks so much, Finch and Ryan on the desk. Queso up against Simplicity. Queso up 1-0 so far as Dracomarino is back at it again on the invade. Last time round Faeles was on the Anhur, however, and hit a very good impale. This time he's going to probably have to rely on the ring toss, potentially. Draco going to try and buy some time, look for a cheeky steal, but a very good abduct will just deny that opportunity. Nice work from Faeles and Genetics there to have some good comms and practice dealing with those invades.
Yeah, with the abduct, the only possible steal is with a basic attack, as that basically goes from about 10% with the Sickening Strike to less than 1% with the basic attack. Ring Bounce and Assassin's Blessing out of Faeles level 1, same exact idea.
And this time it still succeeds as well, so Dracomarino comes away with very little there at the tail end. Well, one thing you see is the conga line of the jungler followed by a support, followed by another support.
Last time Draco was able to at least steal away the red, but this abduct is really working out. As it's funny because you can use Dracomarino as another target for the ring bounces, so even though the smalls of the red was secured, the ring bounce very successful.
And if you notice, they brought down the red buff just low enough to allow the ring bounces to help out there, and that's why you saw Genetics pull with the abduct towards the buff to make sure that ring toss does connect. Good little work from Simplicity then at the start of this, so it doesn't really make a huge deficit at the moment. It just puts experience-wise Dracomarino behind for the time being.
It does a little bit as well for Faeles because he's always paired up with Genetics, so they're like two-way splitting those jungle camps, whereas we're seeing WorstTurttle get some solo farm and seeing the difference of the experience per minute. Not too much right now to speak of, but the race to level 5 could be the tipping point. Neither jungler, though, with Blink, they respect each other's CCs.
Definitely excited to see how the dual lane plays out this time round. We had StreakUp on Ullr, and we also had Warchi playing the set there, but now it's going to be Chekio up against StreakUp in that lane. Mage versus mage, or is Olorun really a mage these days? Everyone's saying he's kind of hunter-focused a little bit here, Tolly.
Yeah, you probably want to put him in the hunter just way, right? The build as well. You want to get rings on him for the attack speed. The demonic grip is going to go a long way. You could still obviously build him as a mage because those first two abilities definitely chunk, especially when you're targeting somebody in that sanctified field that is slowed by 30%.
You also have the AMC in mid lane for Warchi this time round, not in the dual lane. Good news for Warchi, he's played so many different roles through his career, through the seasons of the SML and the SPL.
True.
That he's quite flexible to be able to interchange and not worry too much about it.
Yeah, he's played Vamana mid before. He's played in the solo lane, I believe,
I
once
just don't
or
think I've seen him
twice.
play support. I think I've seen him play every other role.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if he did play support, like in that one-off game.
Probably.
But either way, this is a very diverse player, as you know, he has quite a bit of experience there.
Oh, I like this teleport coming in from maniaKK. He was trying to hide the teleport to let him know that him and Faeles will be alongside. Dracomarino sense it now as he gets a cheeky knock-up. Round the corner comes Genetics, looking to cause a problem from round behind. Julio gets the blue buff, but Genetics waiting for the right opportunity. Julio with a good Faeles knocks up 2, gets a shell on top with Dracomarino, but hangs around long enough for Panther to rotate on in and pick himself up first blood. Simplicity off to a good start.
It took 4 players to bring down the raid boss, and this was only a level 4 tier. Gonna get a little bit trickier from there. WorstTurttle not using the beats for the abduct.
Genetics and Faeles really playing well off each other here with this Naja and the Khepri combination. maniaKK going to come to the fray with the King Arthur, I should say, not the Fearless. They look similar enough for the most part, but the sash from Faeles connects. Draco did get a pluck, the buff on the ground. No one's going to pick it up at the moment as the blink back in from Julio will get the Fearless on maniaKK, who's out of mana.
Oh my god. Did you see how Dracomarino plucks the blue buff so that WorstTurttle can last hit him by his tier 2 tower? In that case, Simplicity needs to reset the aggro, because that's the only reason why that blue buff was still actually able to be getting hit and not immune.
And nobody dies there, but the blue buff is defended from Queso. That's the main thing for Queso's point of view, even though they did lose the first blood. That's why the gold lead is still in Queso's favor.
That's right. When you lose your own blue buff, you want to counter evade, especially when you get a kill, right? But maniaKK being that low, he's forced to walk back to the lane because he had to teleport towards that tier 2 tower. He's going to miss a little bit of experience.
Another one thing as well to mention is the early game of how the jungle invades end up going down now. They're still impactful when you invade a buff, totally, but you don't get as much of a reward and experience as you're used to.
That's true. It mitigated slightly to prevent too much snowball, but after the 15-minute mark, everything becomes evenly matched on both sides of the map. So it's not necessarily about the gold that you're getting, it's more about the denial of the gold to the opposition, as maniaKK and Faeles weren't able to secure their own blue buff or counter invade. So that first blood from Simplicity not really showing in the gold category.
DeathPanter with that first blood will be given the red buff by Simplicity here. We're still rotating around to this left-hand side, probably to check the buff situation first of all. We'll also look for a bit of pressure onto StreakUp if it's there. Same can be said though, is Faeles is doing his back harpies, so both junglers paying attention to the left-hand side at the moment.
It was very important for DeathPanter to make that rotation on the right side of the map, but the non-rotation from Warchi is giving him so much more farm in this middle lane, securing his own red buff earlier on. He's going to hit that level 7 marker before this Anhur.
As you can see, there's level 7 as well for StreakUp, who's working more than likely towards a Book of Thoth next on the list. Genetics still at level 4, matching the pace of Dracomarino. Pele thrown out by Panther just to get a bit of zone work there more than anything else. The slope from that is just so derogatory.
It's obnoxious.
Yeah.
It's really impactful. You could like just feel it. Even the level 1 slow coming through, as Anhur is so versatile both offensively and defensively. You can use the obelisk to block enemy pathing, absorb abilities potentially. The funniest thing I've ever seen with that obelisk is stopping the Habwa crushing wave in its tracks.
Yeah, and also you can block Hachimans as well. You can block a Hachiman charge in if you put it right in front of him. You can actually block the shot.
The shots as well. Yeah, it is a line of sight from the mounted archery.
Yep.
So those mechanics are so important at the highest level once you truly understand them.
The average player, though, it'll happen in your game, you won't realize it, and then you'll be like, hey, wait a second, how did he do that? He's got the hacks on.
I mean, if you just watch, like, let's say some of these professional players streaming 1v1 duels, you'll see the Anhur versus Anhur matchups, and you'll see how sometimes they'll time their obelisk just to absorb the other's impale. It's a lot of mind games when you're playing the Anhur.
So McCoo 4 in favor so far of Queso, as Julio's had the better end of it here. maniaKK had enough of that situation, wants to at least have one for himself and his team. 25 gold each, as well as a nice little bit of a mana buff around the tower area. WorstTurttle, though, rotating around, and it could be pressure from maniaKK. Still has his ultimate available, but may need it if he's not careful. WorstTurttle going to charge the ultimate early. Nice knock-up combination. He's a tanky target to bring down, is maniaKK. Talking about tanky targets, in the middle of the lane right now. Faeles was trying to get into the fray, but Panther does a good job with those basics.
Warchi really messed up there. DeathPanter, he drops the Hive and he tried to honey away, and because of the timing of that, he accidentally basic attacks between the honey, and that slows him down, his movement speed. He wasn't able to duck under the cover.
So with that, Simplicity get a 2-kill lead now, which is almost tying up the gold situation or the deficit that they once had. The experience, though, is still around even between the two. I can just see slight advantages for Queso in certain areas. Same could be said for Simplicity.
That's not a good look, though, to die like that for Warchi, because DeathPanter was behind in the experience category. Now he's going to be ahead, hitting level 8 first. 2 points in that Desert Fury. That's the mid-game power spike you're looking for. This Anhur. Warchi was kind of caught in no man's land. Dracomarino did a great job of peeling to his best abilities of the shell and the pluck. Fortunately, not enough.
Definitely with Faeles on this team, on this Naja this time round. He's going to have the ultimate, the Windfire wheels available. And once we get to the team fight stage, keep an eye on StreakUp, looking for those final judgments off the landing. Pele is available, and will be connected by Panther, but Warchi recognized the danger enough to at least get further away to make it a trickier read for follow-up damage to come through. Pressure in the mid lane, though, so far for Simplicity.
It just goes to show how much damage a level 8 Anhur is capable of. With red buff, that one Impale did about 20% of Warchi's health, right? Imagine if Warchi went on a ride with Windfire Wheels, and then there was, let's say, Final Judgment waiting for him down there, potentially even the Desert Fury.
Not actually mentioned the relic situation between the two supports yet, but Genetics did start with purification beads this game, and I think that could be applied in the later stages. If Draco goes for a pluck onto that Khepri, a quick beads abduct, and that could really turn around and be a play onto the Sobek.
That's kind of what happened in the Gold Fury situation when Genetics had to poke his head around a little bit too far away from his teammates, but this time, like you mentioned, it's the mind games between both of these supports. One is going to want to engage with the dash, the other's going to have to react with his teammates beside them.
Both junglers just coming back from base here, continue to work on their builds. Bit of a difference, Black on Hammer for Faeles here, looking for the mana regen and the extra health in tow, plus a little bit of cooldown reduction. Whereas WorstTurttle going for a bit of anti-heal in this build. And it's not just anti-heal brawlers, it's pretty good power. It's also pretty good pen too.
40 power, not too bad. 15 penetration on top of it. Definitely a cost-effective item, especially a Susano that has so many abilities that tick, right? Jetstream ticks. You also have Stormcutter that hits 3 times. So I like this idea by having penetration.
Both junglers just hanging around this left-hand side at the moment. Red buff about to spawn for Team Queso. And Simplicity do have a ward down in that area, so they'll know it's coming up soon. Queso have Warchi heading over there now, low on mana, and it doesn't look like Simplicity are in a position to really look for an invade here, but they do have full vision of most of the team.
I don't expect them to want to really be aggressive. StreakUp has to be left to his own devices to farm up to get those Book of Thoth stacks.
Fire wheels used, but WorstTurttle using the beads nice and early on there. I think he heard the ultimate from Faeles straight away because the abduct was pretty much already over with when he popped that, so the sound cue is what gave him the window to realize he was in danger. Talk about danger, Chekio could be, but oh my goodness me, StreakUp made a mistake and got heavily punished. Can't find the final judgment. Well, he did have backup waiting in Genetics just in case he needed that ultimate.
Yeah, once the dash is down from Thoth, you're just asking to get turned around. Chekio using that Sanctified Field. StreakUp was forced to use the beats to avoid the 30% slow from that ultimate. And that's still, even then, that was almost a solo kill. Chekio doing a good job showing off his mechanics.
Yeah, I do agree. He's just sidestepped there and the quick turnaround with that field. StreakUp, though, for the most part, played it pretty well. Did have to use his beats to escape, as you said. Gold Fury is available, and the pressure on that left-hand side, Queso could look for something here. The Oracles are about to come up, however, and I think that's the major point that they're after for now.
They should be able to secure it based on this positioning, but they might lose some minions under their tower just to get the vision. Warchi will rotate up, but Simplicity are not playing up. Normally when you clear the wave in mid like that, and you know the enemies are around Gold Fury, you want to hold that choke point around that left side mid camp. But the problem is, from Simplicity's standpoint, there's no vision there, so you don't know exactly how many members are funneling through.
And from Queso's point of view, they have a ward in mid lane to just track if they do step up in that middle area to try and put the pressure on. Draco's been doing a good job of warding that. That was a ward that started to appear in the world of SMITE around Season 2, Season 3, where we saw these wards getting dropped in the mid lane just to keep vision when there was no minions there, of if there's a god just hanging around waiting, and what pathing he's going to take through the jungle.
And that's kind of how metas develop. Even like against Mercuries, you would think like people would figure out where to ward against a Mercury right off the bat, but it took some time to, you know, realize between the tier 1 and tier 2.
Warchi, and that'll get his beads out. Fantastic Desert Fury for Panther. I think that was every single one channel through. Fails to get the Windfire wheels up, but didn't hit anybody. He also got a blessing, but that blessing's wearing out. It will get popped, however. Draco still being aggressive as on the backside. Czechia was rotating in, but StreakUp ends up keeping him in check for now. The field comes into play, however, though, and Faeles will fall. A putt from Dracomarino pulls him back in, but the final judgment from StreakUp did so much. Julio's here, though. Faeles on toe. Not enough for a kill just yet as he takes on 3.
But the chase is going to be on Julio, even using the bees just to make sure he wasn't going to get rooted into plays. Not going to be able to lock down maniaKK as Simplicity get the better end of that trade.
The charge on from Julio, but the pillar from Panther was nicely positioned there. We just talked about the body blocks, but he just got enough separation there for maniaKK to get away. And then maniaKK turns around and goes, oh, I was fired anyway. No one's going to continue the chase. I'll contest those left-hand harpies. It's 5-1 then. Only 100 gold pretty much separating these two teams at the moment. And experience, well, that's all pretty tight too.
As powerful as Warchi is playing the Muzen comp, he also needs to respect his vulnerability side as well. Playing an Muzen comp, you're susceptible towards getting picked off at the drop of a dime. Simplicity dove him all in potential there. It's a bad look when you're not respecting your opposition like that. You have to play so far back, and as a Muzen comp, you're able to do that with all your hives for the mobility. You can easily just spread the honey once they're not on you, but instead, he's kind of in the middle of his like own red, well, not in the middle of his red buff, but too close to the left side mid camps where he's spotted out early.
Look at Faeles on that left-hand side, just waiting for a trap with StreakUp for Czechio to come back to lane. Czechio's here, ring toss goes out and did connect, leads the sash, but Czechio just stepped to the right long enough to avoid that. Faeles just had to guess a direction there with those sashes and just chose the wrong one.
From that far away, it is a little bit of a guessing game, especially when there's no other setups, such as a slow, potentially from DeathPanter's Obelisk. So I like the idea, though, to still put pressure on this left lane. If that sash does hit, Czechio is immediately forced to beads, and that's a good power play for Simplicity with the Gold Fury right next to them.
And turnaround's fair play, because now it's WorstTurtle's turn to set up for a potential trap there onto StreakUp, but he gives up a little bit early. Now he's going to come back to the lane, and StreakUp needs to be careful. Blinking is good, and the dash after the fact is even better. StreakUp survives well with the Aegis, but the follow-up damage from Czechio there was enough to allow WorstTurtle to get a good pick in the duo lane.
This is why mages are risky in the long lane once the junglers show up. But to be fair, at the 15-minute mark, even hunters at this point would be super risky.
You hate to see that. A sash missed and a beads missed, and now Warchi in the sky getting punished for it. Both of them made mistakes, but one of them came up worse for wear. Faeles though, plugs into danger of Czechio. Good damage out so far from him. And with WorstTurtle in tow, that'll bring down Faeles, struggle for mid laner. But Panther gonna need help from Genetics and gets it in the ultimate. But the pillar blocked himself. Luckily enough, though, he'll get away.
Oh, does he though? Julio is trying to make his presence felt. His blink is not available. He actually used it from his rotation, but despite all that, StreakUp just now reviving. He's not going to be in position to contest this.
All on maniaKK really to try and defend this. No Desert Fury available either. The pillar comes into play, but the Fury forces that reset. Now remember, objectives do go down or get taken off the map by these neutral ones like the Fire Giant and Gold Fury. maniaKK still alive. Reinforced Greaves to the rescue, baby.
The pawn luck, but look at StreakUp channeling up that ultimate. Gold Fury dangerously low.
They need to burst it down quick. Julio takes down Panther, but Simplicity from downtown. StreakUp hits the final judgment and secures the Fury at least. However, Simplicity overall there did get deacided. It was a long deicide, but every member of this team did die on that engagement. And Queso, meanwhile, have 4 members, make that 5 in the middle lane.
Almost everyone. Keep in mind, maniaKK did survive. They did lose 3. I think 4 Faeles did drop down earlier, but this tier 1 tower not due to stay much longer. Losing the Gold Fury, but Queso, I think, come out victors there, going to be able to grab a lot of farm and even this Pyromancer.
Yeah, they're not done yet. The Pyro under threat right now, and on the way back is Faeles. Won't be there in time to stop this. There's no wards down for Queso around this Fire Giant. And if they get caught back in, there's a chance for Simplicity to look to sneak one for themselves.
This is the tug of war that we're seeing between both of these teams. One team gets picked off, which was Warchi. Faeles gets answered back immediately as Queso. I think despite their game 1 performance, playing even cleaner in game number 2 with a different style completely. Julio going from the Guan to the tier, WorstTurttle on the Susano, having a lot of control in all of the draft.
Simplicity take a tier 1 tower on the right-hand side with the small window they had and strip away the blue buff from Queso's side on the map. Not a big telling point is 17 minutes in to lose a buff. The most important buff on the map at this stage is really just the red buff for me. Maybe the purple too, to be honest, which I still think is very underrated.
It is definitely underrated. 10 flat penetration and then a 5% penetration aura around yourself is not too bad to exploit when there's going to be so many tanky targets. I also got to value the speed buff though, regardless, right? Because no matter what stage of the game, I think the number 1 stat that all these players are looking for is movement speed. That's why we're seeing the Runic Dagger being popular, Winged Blade from time to time.
I think it's one of the reasons we see the movement speed getting nerfed just lately in terms of rings and some of the mobility options.
Yes.
It's just been brought down a little bit because everybody really is valuing the movement speed at the moment. Once upon a time, it used to be cooldown reduction that was the biggest stat in the game.
Yeah.
And nowadays, movement speed is the key. I guess that's with the map getting a little bit bigger and rotation so important.
Dracomarino able to avoid all the shenanigans. Red buff being contested. Chekio taking a little bit of poke. Great peel from Julio.
He's got a bit of defense there, just Chekio. That's why Desert Fury didn't do a whole lot from Panther. Still, though, pressure onto Faeles from WorstTurttle and Dracomarino. That'll force the ult out of genetics. And WorstTurttle has to self-peel for himself, but maniaK's not done just yet. He managed to get a nice long-range stab off with the King Arthur. But WorstTurttle will still survive. And now Simplicity are the ones marching forward. But what are they marching forward for? No Gold Fury up, no camps up. It's all about a pick. Julio's the only real one presented himself.
Oh, the abduct is good, but Julio is a tier. Keep in mind the CC is not going to last too long. Julio going to use that Lawbringer defensively. Good siege potential from Simplicity, having StreakUp on the Thoth, but left to his own devices is Chekio on the left.
And I think you can give up this tier 1 tower if you're Queso and not worry too much. You get a tier 1 on the left-hand side. The middle tier 1 was already down for Simplicity. And that's going to make maniaKK teleport back to this tier 2 to stop Chekio.
Oh, no.
But now Chekio is getting rotated on by Faeles too. It's all on him. He's got his ultimate and his Aegis. I just wonder if he chooses to use them here.
He's going to need it. Faeles, no ultimate for a little bit longer. Chekio not using his relics quite yet.
Yeah, he held the field for quite a long time and turns it on Faeles. Faeles without an ultimate of his own. Still Chekio looking to find the basics, but just couldn't thread the needle quick enough. He'll fall down, but in the middle area, DeathPanter now looking to leap over the wall. Julio going to put him into the wall and allow the B-man himself, Warchi, to get the kill.
Both of these teams so evenly matched. They're giving up one side. They're going to get some positives on another. No objective other than the blue buff. Right side tower, a little vulnerable as Genetics going to try to play defense. He needs more than just the support to hold on to this 500 gold, though.
Can we see the graphs, please, Doug? I just want to check in how this golden experience gauge has slowly whittled away from both teams. Queso has been in control of this for the most part. They've at least stayed even or ahead at pretty much every moment.
A little bit of experience separates them. maniaKK going to try to lead the charge here, picking up Dracomarino.
That gets rooted after the fact too from Genetics, but Genetics just kept away from Julio. Those two targets on their own will not really find a kill unless it's on a 2v1 situation. They will get some decent poke out though.
Yeah, in that mindset, I'm a level 18 King Arthur. You're not going to kill me anytime soon. Let me see if I can set something up on a very under-leveled support. Level 13 Sobek, this stage of the game, not very tanky base stat-wise. Items say a different story, and if my teammates are there to clean up, then I've made the MVP play of that engagement.
I agree with you, Tony. I think this is just showing how much action there's been in this game, because the one person that will generally always be involved in the action is the support. They won't want to be, but they have to be there to make sure they peel or set up and protect their teammates, but it comes at the cost of levels.
And if you force out a support with defensive relics early, now you can go on other targets without the sprint or the shell. Dracomarino's value in these team fights diminish.
Oh, blink, windfire wheels onto Chekio. He's got his speeds and Aegis up, and he'll need him just now, but he won't get an opportunity to use them. Panther annihilated him. Good slash onto Julio, who's pinned in place, surrounded by 5 members. Gets the Lawbringer off back to safety, and Queso turned tail. The honey down from Warchi prevents them chasing, but it wasn't all about the chase. It was a turn for the Oni Fury, which is going down very quickly.
I'm not in love with the way Chekio has died these last 2 times, almost unnecessarily. You know, no use of the relics. I think the first death that he had was an opportunity to turn on its head with the kill onto Faeles.
Yeah.
But doesn't use the beads or the Aegis this time around as well. He just takes a ride for the sky, and there's no way he's getting out. So at that point, you might as well save your relics since you know Final Judgment is waiting for you.
Yeah, the beads in the last fight, he didn't have the beads available, just the Aegis was up. This time he definitely had them both, but in a weird way, I can't really do him too much discredit because that was a really good play from Faeles. The blink ult,
Yes.
hard to react to.
It is, but at this point in the game, or rather this competition level, at the minor league even, you need to be reacting on these audio cues. As soon as you hear the blink and it's close enough to you, you just have to preemptively use the beats.
So a bit of pace taken out of the game for a moment or two as Simplicity and Queso both fell back to base to buy a couple of items and set up for the next objective, which will probably be the Pyromancer or a Fire Giant if the window allows it to. 23 minutes in, it's not an enhanced Fire Giant just yet, which gives you a little bit more of everything from that buff, but it is an important one at this stage. Tier 2 towers are all still up for both teams.
Simplicity are very cautious now with their first loss in this best-of-3 set. They want to try to react towards how Queso is going to force the issue.
StreakUp, nice bit of damage out there. The tail end, Dracomarino rooted in place, couldn't really do much about it, has to charge away. Checkio throws out a bit of damage there, but no one's actually hitting the Pyro yet. It's reset. maniaKK on the front line.
This poor Pyromancer is just getting the brunt end of the damage. It's been less than 50% of the health the whole time. They're even hitting the Pyromancer outside of the circle, and it's just taking shots without actually losing its health.
I think it'd be more fun if the Pyro got stronger and stronger when you do that. You know, just got bigger and bigger and more menacing, so when you do go in to take it, he does more damage.
We should have a skin for the Pyromancer to make it a training dummy, because that's almost what it feels like in that last skirmish.
Definitely a situation, though, that it can cause problems, because the bees can proc off it onto other targets.
True.
As can the ring toss from Faeles, remember. Both teams do have a bit of an advantage with that. But from Draco onto maniaKK, not the target he'd want. But Panther did end up using beads there, a little bit worrisome in terms of how that fight was breaking out. Both teams grouped to the right-hand side, minions on the left. Pretty even for now. Ever so slight push in favor of Queso, I'd say, at the moment, for that minion wave on the left-hand side. But they don't have to worry about going back for those.
Keep an eye on DeathPanter and WorstTurttle in this next fight. Without the beads, I'm looking for WorstTurttle to find a way to blink in that backline and disrupt all the DPS out of DeathPanter's Anhur. But Desert Fury is still available. As long as he can react to the blink in time, he shouldn't be pulled by the Wind Siphon or knocked up by the Typhoon.
This is setting up for a win or a loss off this next Fire Giant by how both these teams are positioned now. Levels are still even, gold's still even, anyone's game.
Pretty much, honestly. There's only a one-level disparity between these supports and even the Hunter/Mage in that last slot. Still trying to go for the Pyromancer, recognizing Genetics is a little bit too far forward. Queso wanting to punish out on this Khepri. Both supports are like kind of the focus point of either team.
Is that because they just bring so much to the fights? Is that why you're looking to burn them down?
Well, they're the ones trying to engage the fight, so they're the ones most far forward. Genetics is going to look for the roots. Draco's going to look for the knock-up into the plucks. It's kind of to see who pulls the trigger first.
Definitely a little bit more range on the side of Simplicity with having that Thoth from the dual lane coming into play. StreakUp's played it pretty well so far, barring that one death he's had. As the Pyromancer being looked at by Queso, reset once again. maniaKK gets plucked in by Dracomarino, but Dracomarino gets plucked in by Genetics. That forces a pluck from Julio on towards DeathPanter, who knocked up, but by the Aegis bought him enough time to get away. And StreakUp, who got the ultimate out of Genetics there, fired the final judgment. That's a small win for Queso, knowing that ultimate, which is a great objective secure, is no longer available.
And despite hitting 2 targets, it wasn't fully charged, so it didn't do as much damage as anticipated. Simplicity not able to steal away that objective. It was that might have been the longest fight I've seen over the smallest objective in the SMITE game.
Well, at the same time as all this going on, the Chaos minions, Queso's minions decided they'd had enough of this stalemate, so they took themselves a tier 2 on the left-hand side while that was going on slowly but surely. So that just gives Queso an edge in terms of gold once more, and allows that Pyromancer to be even more helpful of like, hey, we won that fight, and we got a free tier 2.
It's looking pretty good, I think, if you're a Queso fan. Being up one game, having a little bit more map control now without that tier 2 tower. Fury is going to respawn soon, but at this point, I think it's anyone's game of stealing away the Fire Giant if there's too much attention on this left side of the map.
You can start to see what both teams' game plan is, though. Queso's looking to pluck anybody on the front line and burn them down quickly. And as soon as that happens, Genetics is looking to try and pull in that Sobek and have him burst down too. Draco going to dash back towards his Primal Fury now. 4 members of Simplicity here. Queso recognizing that. Reset the Fury for now.
Now vision control goes to Simplicity as DeathPanter was able to deny that ward. Dracomarino going to get rooted, but we saw what happened last time the pluck occurred. Even if he gets rooted, I don't think Abduct is on the agenda for Genetics yet.
Draco's done a bit of a better job, continuing to catch him an experience, where Genetics has kind of stalled for a while longer than bargained for here. 27 minutes in, level 13 is not a place you want to be.
Look at these junglers, the way they're diagonal of each other. Faeles is going to try to loop around this Gold Fury, whereas WorstTurttle going to try to loop around either mid or the right side mid camps. That's the mentality of these junglers, looking for the good flank.
Nice. Pele coming out from Panther there. We're still rotating around the left, sorry. Will meet Faeles. They did catch each other, at least those bubbles for sure on that angle. The sash is always prevented by that Magi's cloak that you can see wrapped around WorstTurttle. One of the reasons it's so good against the likes of a Naja.
Oh yeah, you don't want to put yourself in that position when you're not even going to stun the individual target.
Draco taking a lot of poke, but dashes away to safety in time. Final Judgment was charged here by StreakUp. But now WorstTurtle slip around the back, looks for 2 of the carries. One will jump away and the other one will go into the sky. He gets the ult out from Genetics, but Julio has done the damage, taking down Panther. StreakUp now surrounded, and this was all nicely crafted by WorstTurtle.
That's the flank that you're looking for. Just like that, they get the objective, they get 3 kills. They might go for the tier 2 tower. I don't expect them to end the game the same way they did in the last one, but I think that this is a good middle Phoenix to obtain.
Maniac recalling, and only Naja here to defend too. Onto the Phoenix they go. No real minions to speak of, however, so this will be a bit of a backdoor situation that will take them longer than bargained for. But with an Olorun and an AMC, they're going to push him for the end here. Maniac trying to stop them as is Faeles. Into the sky, Faeles takes 1, but the rest of Queso don't care about kills. They want to take Simplicity down 2-0 here today.
Oh, it's very low, the Titan, and just like that, Queso pull an upset.
Really good performance from Queso here, and that game too really was anyone's. It came down to that one play. Game was evenly balanced, but WorstTurtle was slowly but surely, methodically getting his way round the back between that purple and red buff, and catches both the carries with the pants down.
What an epic story from the European Minor League today. Both 5-1 teams dropped to the lower seeded teams. Horizon Union upsetting Flashpoint, Queso upsetting Simplicity, keeping their hopes alive to qualify for the top 2 in the standings.
And that's a big point. There's technically 4 teams still in the run, at least over in the European Minor League. Here's a look back at the stats of what happened in that one. Wasn't a high kill game, totally.
No.
But it was a positional advantage.
To be expected from any sort of European match, honestly, whether it's the Pro League or the Minor League. And the draft from Simplicity was good. It's not as if it was a bad draft. Everything made sense. It's just the playstyle from Queso was a little bit better. It was the one big play from WorstTurtle at the end to tip the scales.
Great performance though from Queso. They're going to take the victory 2-0 here. And that's it for the European Minor League today. But after the break, we'll be bringing you some more action. It's all about North America.